All right, guys, it's time for the Boston Bruins season preview. Last season, they finished eighth in the league with 100 points. Pretty solid performance by them yet again. They seem to do it year in, year out. 268 goals for, 10th in the league, 247 goals against, 14th in the league. Their power play was ninth in the league with 23.4%, but their penalty kill was 24th in the league with 77%. Pretty poor on that end. Ultimately, though, lost to the Sabres 4-2 in the first round. So you'd probably put it down as a bit of a failed season from them. But they continue to defy the odds. You know, people doubt them, think that they're going to miss out on the playoffs, and somehow they just keep being around that mark. Jaden, do we think that's going to be the case again with the roster that you're about to go through?
Well, they've still got cap, so still things that could be done. 6 mil in the cap space. We'll go through the roster. Forward lines, you got Pasternak, Lindholm, Paterka, Middlestat, Geeky, Zaka. Jano, Kurali, Steves, Kostelic, Izamont, Kuznetsov. I don't know how to say his name, but it's kind of a fun name to mess around with. And then Minton. On
Yeah.
regards to defense, McAvoy, Lindholm, Zadarov, Borgen, Lorey, Yokiharu, and Clifton, and goalies obviously Swayman and DiPietro. So ultimately, what's crazy is this team just always seems to be solid. Obviously, they
Mhm.
finished eighth last season in a very hard division. They were still very good. They were up and down. They would go through like 4 games wins, 4 games lost type of momentum swings. But this roster looks good. I don't see any reason that it should take a huge backpedal besides just other teams play in the Atlantic just going more crazy. The only
Mm.
hole I see is the bottom six in regards to forwards, but 6 mil, easiest place to boost is your bottom six forwards, and it's not that bad. I with all things considered. So ultimately, I still think it's a very strong team. It's kind of crazy. They constantly in playoffs every year. They're just always there, like just knocking on people's doors. That I think they had one bad season, then they just come bounce back. So
Yeah, it's actually right. Like last season, I think everybody thought you would see a backward step by Boston, but it didn't really eventuate. They continued to perform well. I know they were a little bit of a yo-yo team. Yes, they did have those big winning streaks, then turned into big losing streaks. But ultimately, they put together more winning streaks than losing streaks, and that's why they made the playoffs. So yeah, it's hard to sort of write them off. The Atlantic, as you said, is very strong. The Metro is going to be reasonably strong as well. So that's where I can see them falling out of it. I think if you put this team in the Pacific, I think you'd say they're an easy top three. But being in that Atlantic division, that's where that I could see them faltering. With the Florida Panthers probably coming back up the division as well, that's going to make things harder. So I'm not going to say they're a lock, but they're a hard team to write off, especially with a 100% Jeremy Swayman uh, in that net. He is unreal, especially when he's at his best. So if they can get him at his best, uh, they're going to be really difficult to sort of kick out of a top three, let alone kicking them out of a wild card spot.
yeah, what's crazy is they've got like a really good player like Gun, A star caliber, on each forward, defense, and goalies. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what makes this team so strong and easy to build around is because it's
Yeah.
a lot of the talent spread around, and it's a lot of the middle slash bottom ends that just need to be filled in. And
Yep.
Pavel Zaka for his price range has done really good in filling that C role.
Yep.
Sometimes first line, some second, power play, P1 sometimes as well. So they're getting production from people that probably were expected to be more middle six, and
Mhm.
that's what makes this team strong. They play a, I don't want to say simple game, but it just seems probably simple for the players to learn and understand, and then understand each other's plays. So I think that's credit to the coach as well, and in how they play. I I still think they're going to be strong. I don't see a big fall off, honestly.
Mhm.
We're always waiting for it, but as long as they improve their penalty kill,
Yep.
I think that's the big thing that they've got to improve. It's like 77% last year. Um, power play was alright, so as long as they improve that, concede a little bit less goals in that regard, you win in a couple extra games, you're still probably going to finish top 10 in the league. So ultimately, it's hard to write this team off because
Yep.
of that. And with 6 mil in the bank, I can see them making this team better through trades because they've still got a bunch of their picks, all their first rounds. Toronto's 2028 first as well, so they
Mm.
can do things.
Yeah, and you look at this lineup, and they are all of a really good age as well. A sort of a cup winning age. I'm not
Mm,
going to go as far to say this is a cup winning team because I don't think it's quite there. But as you said, they've got that money to play with, which they could do prior to the season starting, or they could do throughout the season to up to the deadline even and be big players come deadline day. But yeah, you look at the age bracket and it's really right in that prime, and they're not really overpaying for anyone. I know 7.75 for Elias Lindholm seemed like a lot at the time, but with the cap going up, it's not a terrible contract. And by the end of it, it's even if he continues just putting up the 50 points a season, that's not going to be a horrible contract. And 50 points
mm,
points a season is solid and what they need and what's going to get them there because they have a couple of young lads coming through the ranks as well. They obviously picked up JJ Paterka. He's only 24 on a $7.7 million contract. That's unreal. Good goal scorer. But they've also got the likes of Fraser Minton, who showed some real promise last season. And I don't know his name. We're just going to call him. We're just going to call him Kush. But he had a really good season last season as well. And he's only 24. So, can he grow on that season? Uh, And that's the big thing. Like they've got a good mixture where they've still got a couple of young lads that they can get improvement from, whilst they've got their core that you should be able to get the same performance from them year in, year out without them faltering. Then it's not like they're getting too old and you're going to see a regression. They're in that prime. So yeah, I think the biggest problem is that they're probably a couple of players away from really turning this into a contending team. But I don't think it's impossible, and I think yeah, they're gonna be around that mark again this season. It's just gonna be a question on are they gonna be overpowered by how strong uh, the East is.
yeah. Yeah, look, I think like you said, the age bracket, 27 to 31, even 32 is like your kind of your 5 years of you're going for it. They've lined up
Mhm.
perfectly with it throughout all three departments in forward, defense, and goalies. And I think they're prime for it. I think this is probably a year that you go out and you trade your first round picks and
Mhm.
you try and bolster and you go harder, and I think that makes you stronger and probably solidifies you depending what you brought in as a top three team in the Atlantic. It's hard to write this team off. I know the Atlantic's filled with other teams.
Mm.
Florida didn't make it. Montreal's keeps improving, and Ottawa could is always that wild card that could be anything. But
Be whatever. The Leafs seem to have, improved as well. Yeah, it's crazy.
it's crazy. But I think this team plays such a very easy to understand game and a strong game that I
Mhm.
think it's universal no matter who you verse, that they're always going to be competitive and strong. And they showed that last season. And I think it's going to carry over this season, which I think they're going to probably surprise people that think they're still going to take a step back.
Yeah.
I think they will still do well, and I don't know if I want to say top 10 again in the
Yeah.
for the season, but I definitely say top 16. I reckon they'll be around the
You've got to make in the
around
playoff.
P13. I reckon like 14 to 12. I reckon is where they're going to end up. So I still think playoffs for Boston. I think they'll be in the hunt the whole way.
Yeah. The thing for me with this team is I believe if they are in a really solid position going through the season, they're they're basically locked for playoffs. You know when those teams are just like, yeah, they're still in a wild card hunt, but like they're in a playoff position and they could still fall out, but you just know that team's going to make it. I feel like that's a Boston team, and I think if they're in that position, those first round draft picks, they've got five first round picks over the next 4 years, $6.3 million in cap space. You can't tell me that they can't swindle something unreal to make this team and push it over the line to make it a contender by deadline day.
Mm,
And I think that's what they've got going for them. I don't think they're a contender right now, but I think if they can add a piece or two at the deadline to really bolster, especially that depth, I believe that they can become one. Pasta on $11 million a year is just an absolute steal. The guy's naturally just going to score 40 goals and put up 100 points without a doubt. So, yeah, like I think if they do the right things come deadline day and just bolster that depth, this team could become a contender 100%.
yeah. Yeah, I don't have much more to add there, so we'll leave it there. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know what you think of the Boston Bruins. Let us know if you're a fan of the Boston Bruins and what you think of the season ahead. But yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below for more content. But till next time, we'll catch you guys.
Bye.